with another video. We've been gone for a few weeks, right, Dan?
Yeah, we've been gone.
Yeah.
Mostly a week, but
Yeah.
longer than usual. I mean, this is one of the first buys that we ever covered while covering the Bears. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit longer than usual.
Yeah, so obviously Bears had a bye week last week. That's why we did not do a podcast last week, kind of. But anyway, the week before that, we had, Bears, Jags in London. That was a really highly anticipated game just because, Bears traveling over the pond, see what Caleb Williams could do in an international setting. That was, big game for the Bears. And then, great win for the Bears. We'll quickly recap that. Obviously, it was a week and a half ago, so we won't go too much into depth with that today. But, Bears, Jags in London, we had the bye week, so early bye week for the Bears. And now we move on to the Bears this week in week 8 playing the Washington Commanders in Washington. So, Dan, how have you been, man?
I've been fantastic. I've been feeling really good. I mean, I think the bye came a little bit early for this team. I think I wish it came maybe like around week 9 or 10. That's usually when players want that. But
yeah,
I always remember the Bears bye weeks being a little bit later in the year and also being a bit at a bad period. So I'm happy with it. I think if this is what the team needs, it's going to make adjustments now while we're 4-2 and not 500. So I'm excited. Feel good though. How was your bye week, buddy?
It was good, man. I did work a good amount last week. Trying to catch up on some work and some things around the house. But other than that, man, great bye week for the Bears. It was a little weird not having Bears on Sunday. I love having a Bears game on Sunday. It always kind of makes my Sunday as well, getting together with the guys or just, watching on my phone, driving to work. That's how I've been doing it the last 2 weeks, which unfortunately that's the situation, but happy to work, happy to, make a little bit of money. But I'm literally driving on 90. No, it's not super safe. I had my phone right there, kind of watching the game, like peeking a little bit, but
I'll do it too occasionally. I'll do it too.
Yeah, it's all right. But anyway, yeah, so super excited that Bears bye week is over. We get to the highly anticipated game of Bears in Washington, which we'll discuss in a little bit. But let's kick it off, man, with, basically recapping the week 2 weeks ago. I know it was 2 weeks ago, but I can't talk today. Week 6 recap. So, Dan, you want to start off for us, man?
Yeah, week 6 was a pretty good game for us. Obviously, we came off of a couple wins, and this was technically a home game. So you could put up another win in the win column for Caleb home appearances. That was a fun game because this was, you can argue which game was the best game of Caleb's career so far. I would argue probably this game just because of the dominance he had. Obviously, Caleb threw for a career-high 4 touchdowns, and let me tell you, that career high is something that we haven't been met with a lot as Bears fans, in a lot of the QB department. So career-high 4 touchdowns, I would like to suggest that that's not the only time this season that he does that, which is the coolest part, right? And that just has to do with a lot with the way the offense is rolling. And we rolled through the Jags, okay? We gave them a nice Peaky Blinder-like beating over in Tottenham.
It's a great statement, man. I love that.
Trust me, I had that written down.
Love it.
It was fun. It was a fun game, and I watched it a little bit early, so I was traveling with a buddy over in New York, so we watched it. It was a 8:30 game here, 9:30 game there, so it was just a great time. Woke up Sunday morning watching the game over in the hotel. It was a lot of fun because the Bears were rolling. So the Bears beat the Jags 35-16. As I mentioned before, Caleb 4 touchdowns, incredible play. He rushed rushed really well with his legs as well. So he just showed how explosive he was, and he showed kind of every department in his game. And Keenan Allen had his most explosive game as a Bear. He caught 2 red zone touchdowns. He did only finish, I believe, with 46 yards on like 4 or 5 catches, but still 2 touchdowns. That's something you want to see. It's his red zone presence. He's just elite. He's still obviously top 10, top 15 when it comes to wide receiver presence in the red zone. So I definitely see him catching more touchdowns in the future. I don't know about his yardage totals that much just yet, but I think touchdowns is definitely a dependent part of his game.
Yeah, what I love about Keenan Allen, man, is he's kind of like the dependent guy for Caleb Williams. I know he kind of started off a little rocky. Obviously, week 1, he did get that heel injury. He was out for a few weeks after that, but you can tell that Caleb this is a guy that he can kind of rely on a little bit. He got 2 touchdowns last week, which was, not last week, but the week before in London, which was awesome. He's finally gained that connection with Keenan. And now the next wide receiver that kind of needs to do that is Rome. We'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. But Dan, you want to keep going with the stats real quick?
Of course. So Keenan wasn't the only Bears receiver to catch 2 touchdowns on the day. And a couple more fun facts because Cole Kmet, who caught 2 touchdowns on back-to-back plays, he, I think, was probably probably Caleb's best favorite target this game. I think it was just his size and his run ability. He was constantly open in the middle of the field, and it's just really hard to bring him down. He had this 131-yard touchdown that just beat down 2 defenders. Like the second he caught the ball, they were grabbing onto them, but little did they know that he was still running on his 2 feet. He did not get down, reached for the end zone, got the score for the 31-yard touchdown. But like I said, back-to-back plays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times we've seen this. Matt Eberflus even mentioned, like, this might be the first time ever in tight end history that a tight end's caught 2 touchdowns on back-to-back plays, meaning that 31-yard touchdown catch, we punt the ball, Trevor Lawrence interception, that very next play, Bears run it down to like the 4-yard line, and then Cole Kmet gets we run it back to the 2-yard line. Cole Kmet gets a 2-yard touchdown catch on the very next pass. So just incredible. And not to even mention that he was playing not only one position, 2 positions during the entire game, right? During the entire hour of the game. And as you may know, he won NFC North Special Teams Player of the Week. He got, for playing his multiple snaps as a long snapper, which you don't see often. I think that was just a skill that he unlocked later in his career, right? Probably after like year 2 or 3. I'm not sure if that's something he did in Notre Dame when he was playing, but still, Bears with a very, very effortless game. I think we put a lot of effort, but it ended up looking effortless because we were just scoring on and off. So the Bears held the Jag to 3 points through 2.5 quarters. So halfway through the third quarter, they finally got their touchdown, and that's all the points they scored, 10 points. So the Bears defense also was just a riot. They were causing trouble on every end of the field. We got a lot of sacks. This is probably one of the best sack-happy games that we've had this season for the Bears. And part of that is just because the Jags aren't all that impressive. I mean, I will say that they have somewhat of a competent coaching staff, and they have really good key pieces, but I think their team looks a lot like the Bears without a very good defense. I think they have a lot of good pieces on offense, but they're just not figuring it out. Mm-hmm. They remind me of kind of like what week 1, week 2 Bears looked like, just without a good defense. And not to beat them up, but they definitely, after the first quarter, I knew that they had no edge. I knew that they had no edge to go out and try to win this game and try to play clutch, because the Bears were just, I think they were just too smart. They were playing on the smart on both ends of the ball.
What I've been seeing kind of from the Bears over the last few weeks is finally, Shane Waldron is getting the plays called right for Caleb, and this offense and this defense is still thriving, which that's all we can ask for. We'll get into the with the next game, kind of a few injuries that happened in that game that's going to lead up to the Washington game, but still, man, it's the offense. Caleb's finally finding Cole Kmet. He's finally finding Keenan Allen. He's been finding DJ Moore over the weeks. Rome is kind of the next key player that Caleb needs to kind of find, but as long as, with this passing game doesn't really need to thrive that much right now, because DeAndre Swift has just been a workhorse in that backfield. He's been awesome. And, obviously you've read, everyone's been reading Twitter, all these Bears fans saying, why did we get DeAndre Swift when Roshan is out touching him now? This was like in week 2, but Swift, probably heard all that, everybody on Twitter talking about that. And, it took, like the Michael Jordan meme, he took it personally, man, and he did. And that's what we need. It's like, what I've noticed is like some of these players, man, that like we kind of talk about. Like me and you, we kind of we text, especially during the game, or like during like if there's breaking news with the Bears kind of popping up. If we start to back talk them a little bit, kind of talk a little smack, what I've noticed is that a lot of these players like end up doing well after we start talking smack about them. It's like they listen to us, man. It's like they read our tweets and their texts, and they kind of listen to us. So Rome is kind of that next person. I love Rome, but maybe he's getting open. I haven't seen a lot of the plays, but he's kind of that next piece to the puzzle for the Bears to connect. And if we can get all of those receivers, Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome in the mix for Caleb, this offense is going to thrive, man, especially with DeAndre Swift catching the balls and, rushing in the backfield.
Oh, yeah. We're very dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Shane's calling the right plays this time of the year. He really looks dominant, right? He looks like he's the perfect person for this offense. And I saw a report earlier this week. I forgot what ESPN show it was, but they were talking about how the Bears made the smarter pick with Shane Waldron, whereas Cliff Kingsbury with the Commanders was actually not the smart pick. What I read was that Shane Waldron is a man who had multiple options for becoming a head coach elsewhere and becoming offensive coordinator elsewhere. He ended up taking the job in Chicago, right? And his goal is to be the best offensive coordinator on this team, best offensive mind. Cliff, though, on the other hand, he's a player that went from coaching a major team to falling down to offensive coordinator for Caleb Williams, coming back as an offensive coordinator into the NFL. His next step is probably back to coaching. Is kind of like their idea. And with the way that he's been coaching an offense this year, there's going to be a team, right? There's going to be a team out there like the Jags, for instance, that I think would love his skill set. And that's something that the Commanders are going to have to get used to after a few years of Jane Daniels. Like, they don't know if he's definitely going to be there for a while. So that's the one thing that I actually love about the Shane Waldron hiring. He's someone that's going to be there for multiple years with Caleb. I don't see him having any issue unless things, go south, obviously. But
I agree, man.
We can go over some stats here for the Bears game from notable player
Real quick,
stats.
before you go into the stats, man, we have a nice comment from Scott that says, "Love from Chicago." Thanks, Scott.
I love Scott. And Chicago loves you.
Yeah. Love you, Scott.
Love you, Scott.
Yeah, man. This team is thriving, Scott. We love these Bears right now. Bye week for the Bears kind of lets them settle in. We'll kind of talk about what they kind of did in the bye week in a little bit, but they really, they getting these team building, activities going. They went to Six Flags. If you saw those pictures, Dan, Caleb was riding the Raging Bull and a few other things. He ended up doing a few other things too. I forgot.
He did a 2,000-piece puzzle, something like that, right?
A pottery class or something like that too. What can he do, man?
He celebrated a year with his girlfriend too.
Yeah,
exciting
I saw that
times
as well.
For Caleb.
But thanks for the comment. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
So didn't mean to call you off, man. Let's get into the stats with that game super quick. Yeah.
So with the stats, my favorite stat of the game here, which I will say is part of the reason why I thought this team was so dominant on offense this week. So the Bears scored touchdowns on 6 out of 9 possessions this game.
Very nice.
And the Bears only punted once. That's a good feeling. That's the kind of game that Caleb was talking to Torrey Taylor about after the draft, right? That's the kind of statistics that we're looking for. 6 out of 9 possessions. And 3 of those possessions, one was an interception, one was a punt, and I believe one was either a fumble or just a missed field goal kick. So just awesome possessions for the Bears here. Going into Caleb's game, he went 23 of 29, which is good. Really good completion percentage. It's kind of like what the numbers that everyone was going crazy for when Jaden was throwing those kind of passes. So that's something that we're excited about. That's his power and trying to get those completions up, right? Trying to get as many passes out there and trying to get those completions up. 226 passing yards, 4 tutties.
Good game, man. A great game for the 4 passing touchdowns. This is great for Caleb. Finally, week 1, week 2, couldn't really get the passing game going, couldn't even get the offense going, but now he's finally finding those pieces, Keenan Allen and all those other people. Great for Caleb, man. I know I sound like a broken record, but every week we're seeing constant improvement from him, man. We really are. We're seeing him, click with this offense more. He's calling the plays at the line. He's not letting the coaches do it. If it's audible or something like that, maybe the coach has a little bit of, that chimes in a little bit, but Caleb is calling these plays at the line when he wants to switch it up, and he's recognizing these defenses quick. Granted, Bears haven't played really tough defenses yet besides Houston, but Caleb has taken over this offense, and you can tell that this is his team. And I love to say it, man, but we finally have a quarterback, dude. We finally do.
Yeah, it feels right, and it doesn't feel like it's going to depreciate at all. It feels like this is a appreciating asset of ours, which is a really good feeling because it's not like, oh, next year there's going to be a lot of changes necessary. No, I feel like next year there's going to be additions, only additions. So going back into Caleb here, he did get another interception.
It was kind of a bad thrown ball. I did see that. That was right before I headed out to work. He underthrew DJ Moore. He kind of aired it a bit. I think a little bit of the wind took that and died it down, and the cornerback, read that pretty well and caught it. But I love Caleb for actually going through that deep ball. That's what we want. Obviously lots of years with the previous Bears quarterbacks, we were looking for the deep ball instead of 5-yard, 10-yard passes. It's okay. One interception. I know the last few weeks he hasn't thrown a pick, right?
Yeah, exactly. He went 2 weeks without a pick. So it's good. He is taking care of the ball, and I like that he's taking authority over the mistakes he's making. He understands that these aren't faults of any other people. He understands they're his. And I will say this, that it looked like a very complete rookie mistake. I don't expect him to be making a lot of these mistakes in the future. as he starts, going through his progressions and getting better. And someday we'll be able to call him a veteran in this position. So I think the one interception, that's fine. I'll accept that if he's throwing for 4 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
I think what we talked about before the show, Todd and I were talking about how there's a lot of hype going for the Bears against the Packers, right? This season. It might be early hype. We don't know how exactly it's going to look, but one stat that I heard that was really good is that the last 3 games that the Packers have won, Jordan Love has thrown 3 interceptions, and those 3 interceptions have turned into 0 points for the other team. And so that's a big deal, because I think if you throw 3 interceptions versus Chicago, there's a very good chance we score 21 points off of those 3 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just one of those stats I look at, that players are going to keep throwing interceptions, but as long as Caleb Williams can keep that to a relative number compared to the amount of touchdowns he's throwing, 4 to 1's awesome. 3 to 0 is kind of the goal I'm looking for. I'd love 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. It's like the perfect game. But other than that, 3 sacks, 4 rushes for 56 yards. This was definitely his best rushing game, and a 124.4 QBR. Dropped down, like, I think 0.4 from the week prior.
Like a point or something like
minimal.
that. Minimal.
He's still on such an insane growth path that it's going to tear this league apart. I think this league's going to see Caleb, especially in the next few weeks, thrive. So I think that's an excellent number.
We got a nice comment from Doug in the chat saying, "Hey,
there
fellas."
We go. Hey, fellas.
What's up, Doug? Appreciate you tuning in, man.
Douglas? Yeah. Welcome,
just
guys.
kind of really, Doug, we're talking about the stats right now, just real quick with the, obviously it was 2 weeks ago with that London game, but, Caleb performed very well. I know a lot of people were bashing Caleb in the early parts of the season, and especially me and Dan were kind of doing that as well. But Caleb every week has, been constantly improving on this Bears squad, taking the team in his own hands, getting to the open receivers, rushing where he needs to rush, 56 yards. So appreciate the comment, Doug.
It's his team, yeah. Thanks, Doug. Miss you, Doug. Hope you guys are doing well. Bears are just kicking in. I think Caleb is definitely providing the leadership that this team's looking for. Yeah. But other than the throwing, I mean, how about them rushing, Todd? What do you think about these rushing?
Yeah, so this rushing, man, obviously with Caleb getting 56 yards, breaking out in those plays when he needed to. I think his longest rush was like 20-something yards, right? Or 25 yards. But going to the other
rushing touchdown, by the way. I think that got called back, right?
Yeah. But a few other pieces, DeAndre Swift, the man that we paid in the offseason, 17 rush attempts, 91 yards, 1 touchdown, and he had 4 catches in the receiving for 28 yards. I know you're reading Doug's comment right now.
Yeah.
Here's Doug's comment.
Honestly, there's nothing I love more than this, because just sitting back, having a good drink, having a good lunch, and watching some sports podcasts. I wish I could be watching us right now. That sounds like fun. Doug, we'll have to have you on the show sometime to eat lunch with us.
Or even comment on anything.
Or you
could just eat a sandwich on the side. That's fine. We just talk about eat a sandwich or drink a beer, whatever you need to do.
Sounds good, dude.
Glad you're having lunch, man. Everyone needs to eat. So especially DeAndre Swift. He ate during that game. All right. I'm dying in this comment section right now.
I was wondering the same thing. If you guys that aren't wondering what we're talking about, we're wondering what Doug's eating. Actually, it's kind of the really important thing. Did he make it or did he get it? It's kind of the part that I'm thinking about here.
And Scott also said, getting me through the last hour. Oh, I appreciate that, Scott. We're getting you the best Bears news and best, best in the Bears with that right now. But yeah, so DeAndre Swift, man, he did awesome. Oh, what did Doug have? Let's see. He had some potatoes. Dude, I'm dying right now.
Why, dude? Why?
Oh, I'm dead. Oh, this makes my Thursday, man. Oh my god. And he also just said, "Oh, I put up the wrong one." He's gonna go get a beer soon. Good for you, Doug. You deserve a beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is water, by the way.
This is coffee, but cheers. So yeah, DeAndre Swift, kind of getting into it. He did awesome. But kind of going into the next person who also did great, what we just talked about, Cole Kmet, Arlington Heights native, 5 catches for 5 targets. He caught every, pass that went his way, right, Dan? So then, 70 yards, which is awesome. 2 touchdowns. And then if you guys saw the news, our lawn snapper did get hurt during the game. I forgot what exactly happened to him, but something happened where he got hurt. The backup lawn snapper for the Bears is Cole Kmet, so he actually did take over the duties. He did really well. I think he snapped a lawn snap 3 times. 4 times.
Yes, it looks like he had 3 snaps. One of them did end up being a blocked field goal, which wasn't necessarily his fault. I think that just the defense, and it was close to the end of the game. I think it was the last drive, so it wasn't a big deal, but he did have 3 snaps. 2 of them went really well. And yeah, I mean, that's one thing I could say about our team that most teams can't, is that our tight end can play long snapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
I was wondering the same thing, Scott. Like, is it a bag of raw potatoes or what?
I feel like Schefter here, because I have some information that I'd like to share.
Ooh, let me hear, man.
I just got a photo of Doug's lunch. Yeah, so breaking news here: Doug's lunch is just potatoes, and it's not just some raw potatoes. They look like wedges. So it's like, looks pretty yummy. Some ketchup, paper plate. I like a paper plate.
Pretty yummy. Yeah,
everything tastes better on a paper plate.
Yeah. So kind of just wrapping up, the stats for the, game in London. We talked about, big pieces. DJ Moore had 4 catches for 5 targets. Not that many yards for him, 20 yards. He kind of didn't really see too many big passes like he did in the last few weeks. Keenan Allen did very well as well. He had 3 catches on 5 targets. So every, ball that went his way, he caught 41 yards, which is what you expect out of Keenan Allen. That's the reason why we got him, man, because he's the guy who has glue for hands. So he, always catches the ball, and that's why the Bears picked him up. And you got those 2 awesome touchdowns, which the Bears were looking for. He finally got his first touchdown, and he got his second touchdown with the Bears. Rome did see 2 targets on 2 catches. So like we kind of talked about earlier, Caleb wasn't really looking his way that much, but he did get 40 yards on those 2 catches. So good for Rome. He kind of, I think, expects this year that he's not the first option. He's definitely not the second option. He might not even be the third option just because of Cole Kmet being an awesome tight end. He might be that 4th option on the team, which he's understandable of it.
That's fine. He's going to get his time to shine. I think it being his rookie season, it's more important to see Keenan Allen provide, become that wide receiver 2, because Odunze he's going to get his time no matter what. So it was nice to see Keenan get those 2 touchdowns this game, but we'll talk more into that later on. We cover some adjustments for the Bears heading into this next game.
Yeah. So, Dan, you want to quickly just talk about defense, who the leading tackler was and stuff like that?
We play really, really well on offense. We played just as well on defense here, showing that the Jags aren't, that great offensively, but they're equipped. They have a really good premier player at each position. Obviously, it was Evan Ingram's first game back, and he actually played really well. So the leading tackler for the Bears here was Jalen Jones with 10 total tackles. We had 3 other players with 9 total tackles. We won't go into every single name there, but Jalen Jones, a name that we don't hear as often, especially with some injuries going down in the secondary there. But when it came to totals for sacks and interceptions, there was 4 total sacks this game. Both Montez Sweat and Byron Coward both got half sacks. But then players like DeMarcus Walker, Chris Williams, and
have fun.
Amen Agbang Beminga.
Every time I hear Adam Amin say his name, I'm like, dude, like he always does a great job trying to, that's his job, with being a commentator is figuring out his name. But he was a great player in the preseason from what I remembered. He really got a lot of playing time in the preseason, got crucial tackles for the Bears, and he had a few sacks in the preseason too. So great for him to get a sack,
And I have a good excuse. This is probably my 2nd or 3rd time reading this name, and I've practiced it in my head, but unfortunately I did not practice enough. So sorry, Amen. I'm going to be practicing that more for you just so we can get that right.
Yeah.
If you are listening, I think him and Coach Flus usually listen in on the podcast here. Yeah. Occasionally we'll get DJ Moore, but I think he might be too busy. But those are the sacks for the game. Again, a lot of different faces, a lot of new names, and I'm very excited to see Montez Sweat getting back into kind of the sack column. Josh Blackwell was the only interception of the game there. That was one of these ceiling games, or the ceiling interceptions for Cole Kmet's touchdowns.
Another preseason favorite, man. That Josh Blackwell was awesome in the preseason. And that's when he got to step up when oh my gosh, it was Kyler Gordon that got out, right? It was Kyler Gordon or one of the God, I can't think of the other name up. Tyreek Stevenson got hurt in the week prior. Yeah. But yeah, man. So Josh Blackwell doing well with that interception. And, kind of just going into punting real quick, Tory Taylor had 2 punts for 123 total yards, 61.5 punt yard average, which is crazy. That's why you pick up a punter in the 4th round. And we traded Trenton Gill after, I think he was at the Bears for 1 year or 2 years or something like that.
I think it was 1 year because we also drafted him as well. But
that's right. Yeah. But yeah, he ranks 13th in average per game, which is awesome for Tory Taylor. So kind of to wrap this,
incredible, but it's that number is definitely going to go higher, right? Because we've played some pretty tough opponents, and he's going to get better at that. So 13th is definitely not the highest he can get. I think he's going to get higher by the end of the year.
Yeah, Dan. So kind of just to wrap this up, man, let's just go into like positives for the Bears for, what positive for the Bears. We won. We won in London.
We won.
Last time we were in London, we did not win. It was, I think, we didn't play the Jags. I forgot what team. 2018 or something like that.
2018, 2020, Trubisky, Khalil Mack revenge game against the Raiders.
That's
we were up.
Okay.
We were up 17, but then ended up losing that game because Derek Carr threw like 3 fourth quarter touchdowns.
Mhm.
So that game stunk just because like Khalil Mack played so incredibly well. The offense just couldn't pick it up
That's
on
what
our
it was,
end.
yeah.
So it was nice to go back and get that win, especially from like a home ground favorite. I believe the Jags are always going to be the favorites in London. I think that's why they play there so often. But
Mhm.
again, home game for the Bears, big dub. That was an exciting thing. It's another win.
Like we said the week before, man, I said I would not be shocked if this sounded like a Bears home game. You know what I mean? Because Bears fans know how to travel. There's a lot of Bears fans out in London. It did sound like an awesome home game for the Bears. There was a lot of Bears fans there. Didn't seem like a lot of Jags fans. I don't know how many Jags fans there are, but I just didn't seem like there was a lot of Jags fans there. But it felt like a great home game for the Bears, and it was great that the Bears, especially that team, get to feed off that for the game.
Definitely.
But yeah, let's just go quickly. A few other positives, man. I'll kind of dive into a few and I'll let you take over. I think Caleb seemed very comfortable in the pocket. He seemed like really great. He seemed like he really trusts that offensive line now. Obviously, some of these pieces kind of moved around within the last few weeks. Nate Davis has not been playing a role in this offensive line really anymore. Matt Pryor's been there. I know Tevin Jenkins has kind of been a little hurt, but this offensive line seems like they want to work together like a lot better now, which has been awesome. So, and he's been spreading the targets around. Keenan Allen finally saw 2 touchdowns. Rome's gained a few targets here and there. DJ Moore didn't even feast that well, but he ended up getting 4 catches or 5 catches. And Cole Kmet is finally seeing the targets that he needs. Yeah. And this backfield with DeAndre Swift's doing well. So, and Caleb's, rushing the ball when he needs to. So, I'll let you take over a few more of the positives, man.
Yeah, like back to what you were saying, spreading the targets. It's nice that we have such great wide receivers on the team, but I still really enjoy that he's targeting Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet's someone that worked really, really hard since he got to the Bears.
I agree, man. Yeah.
He grew up mainly as a pass catcher. I mean, he was really good at blocking, but he didn't get the right opportunities from this Bears team because we were so dominant at rushing that people were never realizing the expectations that were put on him for how well of a starting tight end he is. And now he's finally getting these balls more than even Justin threw to him. And I'm just happy that he's thriving. I think that's someone that I was really excited for coming into the season. But other than that, I think the defensive depth, right? We're seeing a lot of new names record sacks, record interceptions. And this is good just because we're not facing a lot of injuries other than this secondary. It's just nice to see this many players play with an edge. Bears are right now number 1 in the league when it comes to tackling. So we're not letting players loose. We're not letting big plays go off. That is part of the reason why the depth is so important. So they keep that number up there. And I think another big one was Caleb's rushing. I think Caleb showing off his legs, right? People are always talking about how a lot of the other QBs in this draft, Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, are really, really smart with their legs. But it's a little different because they don't have necessarily the best offensive lines. They don't have an offense that's running strictly through the pocket, through shotgun plays. And they're using their legs quite often because of the idea that their receivers might not be so trusted. They might not always make it downfield. Jaden's completing most of those throws, but Caleb, it's nice to see him run with his legs and use his legs for a lot of first downs. And he got 1 touchdown that was I think it was like a 25-yard rush touchdown that got called back. And he thought it counted, right? He did the snow angel on the floor, and he did the Gronk spike. So that was really cool to see that. And I believe we're going to see a lot more of that in the future. Any of you that are fantasy football fans, I would be banking on Caleb Williams becoming somewhere near the top 12 to top 10 QBs in the league by the end of the year. I think he overtakes a couple other ones. So that's just a little fantasy scoop for everyone.
Yeah,
there.
dude, I agree, man. So, Caleb's been thriving, and this Bears team has been awesome, especially this defense. Offense has been constantly improving every week, and I'm, super excited for that. But I think we got another.
What we got here?
Doug in the chat said, "Pretty boy."
Who's he talking about?
I don't know. He's talking about you, Dan, I think.
You better be me. You better be me.
Yeah, and then that's basically wrapping up the stats kind of with this game. But that with the positives and everything like that. Negatives, kind of just real quick, just get into that. Just DJ Moore didn't have the best game. He just didn't really eat that well. But this offense did click without him getting a touchdown or 80 yards or 7 catches. This offense did do well. So really happy for DJ. Or, obviously DJ Moore's probably not too happy about that, but of the rest of the offense was probably happy, especially Cole Kmet getting 2 touchdowns and Keenan Allen getting 2 touchdowns as well.
You love games like that. Obviously, he's still wide receiver 1, but there's so many options behind him. We see this all the time. We see this with the Jamar Chases of the world. We see this with the Justin Jeffersons. They're going to have once in a while a bad game just because people behind them are eating, and it's all about open targets, right? So I understand him having a quiet game. He had 230 yards last year against the Commanders, so we're hoping that this week versus the Commanders again in Washington, he won't have such a similar game as he did last week.
Yeah, and then kind of the last thing to kind of get into, Caleb did have an interception in that game, and then the secondary did allow 240 total yards. There were some injuries during the game that knocked some players out. Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson with the having a concussion. There's a few other injuries as well, but when these players need to step up, this will be good for the Bears, especially Josh Blackwell and a few other people. I expect them to perform well if they have to take those duties over in Washington this week. But anything else, man, before to wrap up the kind of the negatives or positives of the Bears?
I think that's it. I think it's just Caleb's, trying to do better when it comes to his ball handling skills and how he's going to be, minimizing those interceptions and those kind of mistakes. But Bears secondary, allowed 240 yards passing, which hasn't been fantastic, especially when you're versing teams with like an Anthony Richardson type QB. I just wish that we would play just a little bit better, even though our defense has been statistically incredible. I know Kevin Byard is like top 3 ranked in the league in safeties, and then also Jalen Johnson. He's getting number 1 comparisons, right, for the number 1 best cornerback in the league. So those are going well for us. But enough of last week, right? Because we have to move on as Bears fans. We have to always
I'm so excited about this, man.
We've been looking forward to this game.
This is going to be a great game. We'll see how it looks for the Washington side of the offense. If you guys haven't been paying attention, Jaden Daniels did get hurt in the last game he was in. I think he tried rushing for a touchdown, got tackled, got hit in the rib area. You could see he was in lots of pain. Went to the locker room, did get evaluated, basically told him probably don't come back in the game. But also mainly they were up by like 30 points at that point, man. They were up by like 28 points or 30 points. Jaden Daniels didn't come back in the game. He went back in street clothes. Everybody was cheering for him on the sideline, but we'll see if he ends up taking the field because he did not practice yesterday, which was Wednesday. He did not practice today, which is Thursday. And then also leading up to it, there's reports that he might try to practice tomorrow, but I would not be shocked to see or say that we see Jaden Daniels not being on the field for the Washington Commanders on Sunday. But yeah, the Bears being 4-2, the Commanders being 5-2, they flexed our game. Our game was supposed to be at noon. Now we're going to be at 3:25. We're at a primetime game, or no, not primetime slot, but we're the CBS slot now. So we got Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on our call. I know you put the Bears are a 1.5 point favorites. I saw yesterday 2.5. Has it been moving around?
2.5. That definitely must have changed just because I looked at this number, I believe, 2 days ago. So that definitely, I think, is changing as people realize that Jaden Daniels might become doubtful.
When I looked like 2 days ago or something, it was like 2.5. It keeps flying around because there's rumors he might play, rumors he won't, he won't play. But Bears are kind of right around the 1 to 2.5 point favorite range. It will fluctuate depending if Jaden Daniels plays or not.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so kind of going into the Commanders' injuries, going into Week 8, just talked about Jaden Daniels. We'll see if he suits up. We'll find out more tomorrow on Friday if he ends up practicing. Like Adam Schefter and a few of the other people said, I would not be shocked to say or see Jaden Daniels not take the field, just a precaution thing, because this Bears defense is tough. And if he does take one gnarly hit to the rib cage area, like on a sack, that might put him out for a few more weeks longer than he needed to.
Yeah.
So,
and they're 5-2, so I don't think they're too worried. And also don't feel any resistance coming from Washington. I feel like they're definitely a team that's going to come into this game thinking they could win it with Mariota. And I know Dan Quinn is definitely sitting there thinking to himself, like, hey, we can't put harm into Jaden Daniels, right? We need to kind of make sure that he's going to be healthy. I'm sure he understood a lot of the hits that he got in college, which he didn't really come back from that quickly. So that's just part of it. That's just part of the game. I know also that happened this past week was cornerback Kevon Seymour was suspended for the next 6 games because of performance-enhancing drugs, which is one of the 3 players last week that got caught for this. He only got the longest suspension. Usually the other 2 players got 2 weeks. He got 6 games.
Yeah. Yeah, big out for the Washington defense. He's a big player for the Washington defense.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the big injuries on the Commanders side of the ball. Now the Bears injuries, these are kind of, I'd say obviously any injury is concerning, but I think some of these injuries are pretty concerning for the Bears. Kind of talking about, the Bears did open the practice window for Larry Borum and Travis Homer, backup running back for the Bears. But the few of the big injuries that we're kind of, talking about, Jaquan Brisker did not practice today on Thursday with a concussion. Due to concussion, he did suffer in one of the hits last week in the Jags. It was a crazy hit. It was crazy. But Kyler Gordon as well, hamstring, did not participate in practice due to a hamstring injury. And then Tyreek Stevenson, looking to come back from a concussion he suffered, is trending in the right direction. He was limited. So I could see Tyreek Stevenson take the field for the Bears. According to Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon, I'm not sure about that, man. What do you think?
So I think when it comes to Jaquan Brisker, I don't think he comes back. I think I've seen a lot of conferences where he's doesn't feel too comfortable, and especially if you see him the start of the week, I don't think he's going to progress that much. Kyler Gordon, I could see playing, but again, I wouldn't be surprised just knowing how deep the secondary is, giving him another opportunity, another week.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see everyone return as much as whatever the problems are. We want to see everyone return because we want to keep seeing this Bears defense, but I also understand that the way they're getting coached, I should be perfectly fine with having a few of these players miss some games because, again, we're deep. I think we have an opportunity to still go out and win this game with our defense. So
yeah,
I'm not too worried. If the guys need more time to heal up, then let him heal up. That's fine. I do think Tyreek Stevenson comes back if he can get through the concussion protocol. I'm not exactly sure what stage he was at as of today, Thursday, but it sounds a lot like since he had a limited practice, it seems like he's either in step 3 or 4, meaning that Saturday he might get approved through step 5. So
yeah,
hopefully that's soon.
Yeah, those are basically the injuries on the Bears side of the ball. And now kind of going into what the Bears kind of need to do against Washington this weekend. This is a big game for the Bears. It kind of depends on who the quarterback's going to be. Mm-hmm. If the quarterback is going to be Jaden Daniels on Sunday, we have to look for him to, rush outside the pocket, or maybe he doesn't even rush at all outside the pocket because of his injury. If he does play, I didn't even think about that till now because he's not going to want to risk more injury this season. But also looking at how, he plays his play style, running out of the pocket, scrambling, throwing right. I would not be shocked if he does not play on Sunday due to that reason, because that's kind of what they use him for. Now, the other quarterback potentially could step up, Mariota, he is more of a pocket presence quarterback. So just because they don't want to risk more injury to Jaden Daniels, I could see Mariota start on Sunday just to let him rest up a bit, because he is better. I'm not saying he's better in the pocket, but he's more of a pocket, quarterback. Marcus Mariota is. But
and he's obviously a veteran, so he might understand the defense a little better than Jaden Daniels would. But again, he's also a quarterback that's been in the league for 7+ years, so there's not much left in his tank when it comes to trying to lead a team and end up having a starting job. I think he's strictly just a backup quarterback. That was his job. So I think the Bears could end up feasting, but I also know that he is going to play the safer route. Last game he played really well for the Commanders when Jaden didn't play. So it's going to be an exciting game.
Don't knock him down, Bears fans, because I'm telling you, it was against the Panthers. I know that they're not a great team, but he did have 220 yards. He's a veteran in the league. He's been in the league for, I believe, 9 years now. He did win a Heisman with Oregon. He knows how to play football. And I know how Cliff Kingsbury is going to be and Dan Quinn. They'll adjust this offense to him. It won't be like the same exact playbook that Jaden has where, running out of the pocket, if it's going to be Marcus Mariota. If it's Jaden Daniels, they might even adjust the playbook much more for him as well. But don't knock him out, Bears fans. Marcus Mariota is not a terrible quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback in the league. And I would not knock him down at all. He will. We saw what he did. Obviously, I know it's just against the Panthers, but we did see what he did against them. So, kind of going into more about what the adjustments this Bears secondary needs to improve just a little bit more. Last week against the Jags, Trevor Lawrence started picking up in the second half after those key injuries to the Bears. The Commanders averaged 230 passing yards a game. This is big for the Bears, secondary to kind of, tighten up a bit and not allow as many yards, especially Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz is doing well this year for tight end for the Washington Commanders. Other big pieces. If the Bears can, stack the box better, the Commanders have two great running backs. They have Brian Robinson Jr. and they have Austin Eckler in the pass game. They're both great running backs. If we can limit the run game to them, that will help this Bears team out a lot come Sunday. It will.
100%. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a big thing for me. I'm worried about just the way that we've been playing with other receivers. And even though Jacksonville didn't score more than 10 points, a lot of their receivers did have pretty good games. They had pretty good outputs. So, and this is a team that I know Cliff is going to be. He coached Caleb, right? He coached Caleb, so I think he's going to be running a couple plays that he knows against Caleb, knowing like his play style. So that's another thing that I'm worried about. So I just hope that both defenses can, their defense can help our offense look better, and then our defense can help their offense look worse. That's kind of cool.
Go Bears! Yes, we love that,
Beats.
Tucker. Go Beats, go Bears, go Beers. Anything. I love it. So this is going to be a great game for the Bears on Sunday. Obviously a lot of people are like looking to that number 1, number 2, potential matchup if it does happen. I think it'd be better for the Bears if Jaden Daniels does play on Sunday, just because I'm not saying we've had an easy road, but the teams we've played to start the season have not been the best, besides the Texans. The Titans kind of gave us a ran for our money. The Texans did, beat us in week 2. We did beat the Rams, which were a decent team because they did come off that win against the Niners the week before, that comeback win. But if the Bears can play Jaden Daniels on Sunday, if he ends up giving it a go, I think it'll be better for, Caleb's mentality. But I'm saying, after this Washington game, we'll get into it like in a little bit, but we do have like a tough few games coming up, some better teams ahead for the Bears. But it's good that we're getting the rhythm going, I guess, in my opinion, against better teams. Or not better teams, but, the wins against the worst teams. But we get this rhythm going into the teams that we're going to play that are better.
Yeah, teams against that have a little more energy, teams that have some better position players, teams that have some top 5 quality players at position. So that's going to be a very important thing for the Bears in covering the Stars, right? So this week might be a start of that change. I think if Jaden plays, then it's going to be even more dangerous for this Bears defense, but I still think it's just as important. But moving on, I said one last key week 6 adjustment is kind of giving the wide receivers even more targets. I know that game where Caleb Williams threw for 52 incompletions, and I think he completed 42 passes, somewhere on there. And I would love to see Rome get more downfield work. I think Rome is doing well in the slot, and I think he's doing well. He's doing even better outside. I want to see him catch more deep passes. I do feel like Tyler Scott deserves some attention too, because I think he was such a good deep play threat last year. I know DeAndre Carter is strictly going into special teams now, but just a little bit more downfield work. And I'm not asking for much. I know Caleb's doing his best. He's doing really well. He's getting the passing yards. He's getting everyone the completions they need. I would just love to see a couple more deep plays to a guy like Rome. I think so.
I agree, man. All right, let's move on to our favorite part, which I know we have a few viewers watching right now. If you guys want to comment and, give us your opinion on Bear Down or Bear Frown, this is one of our favorite segments where we kind of talk about a stat that we think going into the next week, and we give our opinion. Do we think it's going to bear down or potentially bear frown? So we'll talk about last week real quick, because we did have a great week. We had a great, predictions last week, man. Last week we predicted Caleb to have 2+ passing touchdowns. He got 4. Swift 60+ rushing yards, which he's feasting last week. He had 91. Bears defense to have 3 or more sacks. They got exactly 3. And then the one that did not hit, we did go 3 for 4. DJ Moore touchdown. He did not get that touchdown. He really didn't even get the yards that game. But 3 for 4, man. 75%. That's a passing grade.
We did pretty well. Every single time we've done it so far, we've gone either worse than half or half exactly. So 3 for 4, I will take that. That just means that we're only, just like Caleb, we're getting better and better. We're reaching greatness.
Keep on going, man. Yep.
So next week, hopefully, do we hit 4 and 4. And speaking of the 4 that we have coming up here, Tyler, you can make any adjustments to these you want.
Yeah.
These are the ones that I picked. These are the ones I thought kind of had the best chance to maybe also be a bear frown. But let me know what you think here for week 8, bear down or bear frown. Number 1, wide receivers combined for over 185 yards. And I mean receivers. So no Cole Kmet and no running back.
This is a good one, man. So 185 yards. This is a lot for just the receivers. Cole Kmet was feasting the last few weeks. I expect him to get more with this. Scott does say in the chat, bear down 100%. Oh, I love that, Scott.
Okay.
I think it's just with the receivers alone. This is a tough number, but I can see DJ Moore get 100 plus yards. I can see, Keenan Allen potentially get 40 or Rome get another 40. You know what, Scott? I'm going to ride with you, man. I'm going to go bear down with this one as well. If you're including Cole Kmet, I'm 100% bear down, but I am going to go bear down on this for 185 yards. Dan, what you got, man?
I am going totally bear down on this. If you don't think that Caleb doesn't hear the outside noise, and you think Caleb is going to walk into Washington, play an away game with Jaden Daniels sitting on the bench, and he's not going to try to go off and have the best game of his career, I think you're absolutely insane. I think 185 yards makes sense perfectly. If DJ Moore gets 90 or 100, Caleb gets 40, and then Rome gets like 45, right? That's totally doable. He can do that with 22 to 26 completions easily. So yeah, 185, 100% is something I'm going for. Bear down.
Love it, man. You want to go on to the next one, dude?
Yes, the next one here. Since Caleb has been rushing so much recently, and knowing that the Washington defense is going to try to attack him at every side, trying to get as many sacks as they can.
Doug does have to kind of comment. He said bear frown. The rush has been strong. I like that, Doug. But Danny's a little pissed off at you. But I do think this rush game has been strong for the Bears. But kind of receivers alone, I could like Dan just said. I do think that he is hearing the outside noise that I want him to feast. So Doug's going bear frown on this. I love the comment, but didn't mean to cut you off, man. So, but yeah, just kind of going into the next one, Caleb and is kind of rushing.
So, sorry, Doug. I do understand what you mean by that, Doug. And I do think this is one of those games that Caleb just pops off. I think he hears the outside noise, and that's all I have to say for that. But the next one here is Caleb Williams rushes for more than 45 yards. I don't care about the attempts. Is it just 45 yards? Does he get that rushing?
I'm going to go a solid bear down on this, man. I think every week he's been rushing a little bit more. I think kind of referring to what Jaden Daniels kind of said, what he kind of does with his feet. I think Caleb wants to show Washington what he could do with his feet as well. Obviously, I don't expect him to have quarterback, draw plays designed for him like Jaden Daniels does. But if he can't find the target, I can expect him to run for 10 yards at least 4 times and get 40 yards, 45 yards. I'm going bear down on this, man. How about you?
I think I'm going to go bear frown on this, unfortunately. Sticking to the last idea that I think Caleb's here to throw the ball. Caleb's here to truly show that he's the best quarterback arm in this draft, and he has the receivers there to prove it, to help him prove it. I don't think he gets 45 yards rushing, and I think that's a little bit to what Doug said recently. The running game has been looking really well. I think Caleb is going to trust that his legs don't have to be always used. He might get a first down or two. He might get a nice 1 yard rush, but 45, I'm not sure if I love that for him this game.
It's a high number, but Doug does say bear down on this, which I love. I love the bear down. Guess what Scott says as well? He says bear down as well. So Dan, you're the only oddball out, man. You're the only one that thinks he's not going to rush for 45 plus yards.
All right, $5, Doug. Give me $5.
Little side
fiver on it.
Little fiver
on it.
All right, so kind of going to the next one, man. So this is kind of talking about into the Bears defense. Bears defense has been very strong lately. They've been doing very well. Now, this Bears defense, do you think this Bears defense could potentially get 3+ takeaways? That could be an interception. It could be a fumble. What do you think, man?
I think the Bears get more than 3 takeaways. Yes, I think the Bears definitely get more than 3 takeaways. Seeing that Mariota is playing, I know he's a veteran, but I think this defense, again, I think Flus is going to be sitting there licking his lips, telling the defense, like, hey, we're going to kill whoever's playing quarterback. Like, that's the goal. And then Montez Sweat, I believe he's also sitting here thinking that he's destined for a huge game. The Bears average exactly 3 takeaways this entire season per game. That's the reason why I use that number. Yeah, exactly. That's the reason I use that number, because last time we did play this team, we got exactly 5 takeaways. That was last season. DJ Moore, 230 yards. I think we scored like 5 touchdowns that game. Huge game. I think we get the over. I think 3 or 4 makes sense.
I'm going to go bear down on this one too, man. I think we're going to have a forced fumble somewhere, whether it's Austin Eckler or maybe Marcus Mariota on a sack. We get a forced fumble out of it. And potentially if it's Marcus Mariota, maybe 2 interceptions as well. I see a forced fumble and 2 interceptions. I'm going to go bear down on this one, man. This defense every week has been awesome. They've been constantly improving. I know some of these key injuries, if the Bears, if they're going to be in the lineup or not, I do think they could kind of, affect how my decision is with being bear down or bear frown on this. But I'm going to go bear down. I like 3 takeaways, man. I do.
I think that's definitely doable. I think that's something we could see, especially coming from a backup quarterback as well as a veteran that Mariota is. It's bound to happen, right? That's why they're the backup quarterbacks. But going on to the last one here, this one is probably the one that I think is the hardest to guarantee immediately. But Cole Kmet, who scored 2 touchdowns in the last game and a couple touchdowns on the season, does Cole Kmet score 1+ touchdown? Does he score 1 or more touchdown?
Bear down, man. Bear down. Caleb is I'm not saying finally, but it took a few weeks. He is looking to Cole Kmet a lot more at the open of the field, whether it's 10 yards or whatever. And you could tell he's looking to him in the red zone. It's Keenan Allen, it's DJ Moore. In the earlier parts of the season, it was Rome. I think Cole Kmet is finally getting those targets in the red zone. I'm gonna go bear down on this, man. I see Cole Kmet getting a touchdown on Sunday.
That's a good idea. I like that. I like that take. I think I want him to get 1 touchdown. Does he get 2 touchdowns? I think that's
if it was 2+, I'm going bear frown on that, man. But yeah, I see him get a touchdown. I do.
If it's 1 touchdown or more, then yeah, I definitely see him getting 1 touchdown. If it's 2 that we're aiming for, I see not as likely. I really want Caleb to push for the receivers this game. I want him to really push for those, and we talk about that a lot each week. So that's, I think, bear frown for me. I think if it's looking at more than 1 touchdown, if it's just 1 touchdown, that's a bear down for me. I like the idea of him scoring. That's what Scott says.
Bear down for sure. Love Cole Kmet. See more opportunities for him coming. I agree with you, Scott. Every week he's getting more opportunities on this Bears offense. I really think Cole Kmet is that other piece to the puzzle that Caleb needs. Also, I got Doug's agreeing with me on this bear down. He's agreeing with us on this bear down. I like Cole Kmet getting a touchdown. Throw your money on Cole Kmet getting a touchdown this weekend. He's seeing the targets from Caleb. He's finally feasting. He had 2 touchdowns last week. Nobody can predict it, but I'm telling you, bear down. And he's even saying, I'm telling you, bear down.
Bear down.
I like it, Doug.
I'm telling
Doug's going to throw $100 on it now. That we're talking about. So Doug, I know Scott kind of said something about parlay options. So parlay Caleb Williams to go 45+ yards, a Cole Kmet touchdown, and I don't know, you could go Caleb over passing yards. I like that as a parlay. I don't know what it would be. It'd definitely be plus money, but I don't know what it would be. But I could. That's a good parlay. I'll send you guys my parlay later on in the week. I finally that the Bears are back. It was sad not being able to bet on the Bears, man. It was sad.
I get it.
But
that's enough for bear down, bear frown. Thank you guys for joining us.
We appreciate. Thank you guys for
one of our favorite options here when it comes to talking about sports. Usually we just did over under on whatever the sports books were telling us, but I feel like that's a little bit more enjoyable because we make up our own numbers and. Hey, a lot of these hit, so it's a pretty good solid guess.
And Scott's asking about passing yards, 220. 220 on passing yards? I say over, man. I say over. I think he gets around 250. I do like that.
Down on that.
I'd go bear down on 220 plus. I think he, like Dan said, he wants to show Washington his arm and not just his legs. I can see him do both, but I do like him passing a lot. So I like 220, Scott. I do. So, Dan, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. I know you're getting into next, and that's it. Not after 5 weeks. I had the wrong thing up there. But Caleb Williams stats after 7 weeks. There it is. After 7 weeks.
So, 7 weeks, including the bye week, right? We like to do this at the end of every show just so we can kind of show you the progression. We told you what our goals were for him through 6 weeks. So, I think we're going to try to give you one through his goals through 10 weeks and in the next show. So, I think that's, Tyler, if you want to go ahead and cook that up before the next episode, we'll talk about it. Just because we haven't done that in the last few weeks. But his stats after 7 weeks, 130 completions, 199 attempts, 65.3% completion percentage while throwing, 1,317 yards, which is already passing most of the benchmarks that the previous 2 QBs have met at this point in the season. 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 25 carries for 169 yards, and then an 88.7 rating. So that is incredible, I think, for a rookie QB still to be at 4-2. Let's not forget about that. He is ranked 16th QB in the league. it's not a horrible number. It's not a great number. I understand that there's a lot of QBs out there. As long as you have players like Sam Darnold, right, a player like Jordan Love that is still performing while making a lot of mistakes or making offensive progressions. That's just something that we're gonna have to see. But I think later on in the future that number will definitely change, and I think it's gonna get into a higher ranked for his QB position.
Yeah, dude. So basically with Caleb, I remember going into this season, he was ranked around maybe 20 to 25th for quarterback. That's what they were projecting him to be around. For him to sit at the middle of the pack at 16, I think that's great for Caleb. It's his first year. I know obviously Jaden's performing a little bit better than him right now, but Jaden kind of needs to, that he's that whole offense with his legs and, his throwing. Obviously the rushing is helping out Washington as well. But Caleb has been performing very well for the Bears. He has been, week one, Bears fans were like, oh, did we make the wrong mistake? But Caleb has been performing very well. I'm really happy how he's been, that with his attempts and, he's throwing the ball a lot. He wants to get his passing yards up. And I'm very happy for Caleb after 7 weeks. I'm very proud, happy, and I am a happy Bears fan because of that.
Of course. And I think I might be mistaken, but the record is 3,100 yards. He is well above halfway. So if he could be at 3,100 yards, you're officially looking at the best quarterback in Bears history. I love you, Jay. Actually, sorry. I love you, Jay Cutler. For those of you that may have known what happened this past week. Again, as Bears fans, we don't condone any of those violent acts, but we still understand that he's a very big piece of Chicago's, intricate design of QBs and how his play style was. But hope he's doing well out there. But yeah, Caleb is the guy. Caleb is finally the QB that we've been looking for. But
kind of what I was saying is Caleb knows when to run the ball when he needs to. He's not forcing it. I know Justin Fields was a way different quarterback. His legs were kind of used a lot more. We kind of see it with the Steelers as well. But Caleb knows when to rush when the pocket starts to collapse and everything like that. And Caleb has been performing very well. Super happy for him.
Definitely. He is exactly the player that we expect him to be. And at the end of the day, you got to stop looking at the idea of, is he going to become the best QB in the league or one of the best QBs? Let's focus on year one being the best QB for the Bears, right? That's what I keep telling myself. And that's all we need. But edging away from Caleb and the offense, let's talk into some movement happening here at Hallis Hall. There's a couple players out there that are seeming to be interesting from other teams and other teams' perspectives. Players that we don't see getting a lot of reps in this team or on this defense or offense. First name here, Tyler, beloved Chicago player, right? 3-year deal. I believe it was $28 million. Guard Nate Davis is
this was one of the worst contracts that Ryan Poles signed. I know he was trying to get a fill-in spot, for guard position. Nate Davis has not been it. He's not on the field. He wasn't even practicing in preseason. Whatever, even if we get if we just get money for him, that's fine. We just need to get him off our team. He's not helping our team whatsoever. Nate Davis is not doing it for us whatsoever.
I would instantly trade him for another guard, another position player that another team is having trouble inserting. I just don't think he's the big thing I heard from him is his practicing is pretty mediocre at best. He definitely doesn't show up on the fields often. He doesn't like practicing. So this is what we're trying to say is that Nate Davis is available, is what Ryan Poles has been talking about, that it's not this just players that we dislike that we want to trade. It's a player that is getting activity. It's a player that's seen around the league as hey, he might help our team. So Nate Davis is available, and we've been seeing a lot of reports on trades for him. This next player, though, came up as kind of a shock just because when we drafted him, I was very excited about his potential. And I believe we got him 2 years ago. Dominique Robinson is available. He had a pretty good 2-year start to his stint for the career with the Bears, but I just don't think he's fitting well into this rotation, this 3-4 rotation. I could see him definitely being traded before Nate Davis just because of the defensive line help around the league and helping free up some more cap space for us to go and try to trade for a defensive player or something like that. So he is definitely another player that has shown to be available from Poles and his staff.
Yeah, no, two big names. Obviously, you said, well, Nate Davis, in my opinion, needs to, get off this roster. He doesn't really belong on this roster right now. Dominique Robinson, he's a great player, man. He just doesn't. We finally got some more pieces to kind of fill in that starting role, and he's just not getting the playing time. So if we can get some assets for him, that would be awesome. And there's another player that's not listed that potentially, if a team needs help in this position, might be worthwhile, and that was Khalil Herbert on the Bears. He's not seeing the field whatsoever right now.
Mhm.
DeAndre Swift seeing the field. He saw the field at the beginning of the season, but now we're seeing Roshan Johnson come in. But we're not even seeing that much Roshan Johnson because DeAndre Swift is finally knowing how to, work with this offense. So Khalil Herbert is another name that could be traded off the Bears. Now, if we can get I don't know what Khalil Herbert's worth, but if we can get like a 5th round, 6th round, even 7th round pick for him for a guy that's not even playing, that's fine with me, man. We got DeAndre Swift for 3 years.
And we also pretty deep when it comes to running back position, right? Travis Homer isn't a famous name, but he's definitely he started the first game and he played pretty well. So I definitely see us being pretty deep at running back. So I would not miss him. I think he's a great player, but I would not miss him if it came to draft capital. And I know Velus Jones. That's another name that I think Velus Jones, his trade kind of ideas came a lot from Hard Knocks. I think it's kind of what happened to him. We got offered a 4th round pick for him before the season started. That's the news that came out of Hallis Hall. And then he muffed a few punts. And then all of a sudden, we didn't hear a lot about people wanting Velus Jones. But
it's been healthy scratches the last few weeks, and it's just
I think it's just another one of those players that I could see the Bears kind of eating up his money, trading him for a 7th round pick just to kind of cut our losses. He is right now playing a position that's not necessary on offense. He's part wide receiver, part running back, part kick returner. And I think the only position I could see him doing would be on slide routes was a wide receiver. But again, it's such a deep wide receiver room. I would rather have many other players handling the ball there before Velus. So that's just one of those players I think we should keep an eye out just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are kind of the big names kind of flowing around the Bears right now. Obviously, the big ones I've been hearing are Nate Davis, Dominique Robinson, and potential Khalil Herbert. I don't know how much room there is for Velus Jones getting trade off this team, but these are names that I say in the next few weeks. The trade deadline is in 2 weeks, man. I believe it's November 4th or November 5th, if I recall correctly, 4th. One of those days. That's going to be the trade deadline for the NFL. Obviously, we saw a move yesterday. DeAndre Hopkins going to the Chiefs. A bunch of other moves have been going. Devontae Adams to the Jets. There's been a few other moves as well. But keep your eyes out. We'll keep you guys posted as well with trades going on with the Bears, and we'll see what happens if Ryan Poles decides to move some people. And I know we didn't kind of bring this up, but there's rumors flowing around that there's some edge rushers that could be available for a trade for the right price, including Max Crosby from the Raiders or Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns. That would be an awesome other side of the ball from Montez Sweat to help pair up. In my opinion, these two players are the players that the Bears, I would not be mad if they gave up some future assets just again, because these are generational talents, man. Myles Garrett has been the top defensive player in the league for 5 years now, dude? Like ever since he came to the league, he was the #1 overall pick. He has been awesome. Max Crosby has been amazing on the Raiders. Obviously, he's not happy with his situation. Ever since Devontae Adams left, this team has kind of been just going down on the roller coaster. So the Cleveland Browns as well, with Deshaun Watson going out for the year, that team is going down on the rails. Ryan Poles, make your call, man. See what the price is. I agree. Like, these are 2 generational talents that if we can get them on our team, sign them to long extensions. Obviously, I think he's kind of scared about the whole Khalil Mack situation with the Bears. When we got Khalil Mack and gave all the money to Khalil Mack and there was no other money to be spread around whatsoever, receivers, running backs, yada, yada. I think these are 2 generational talents that keep your eyes out for. If we can end up trading for one of them, that would be awesome.
Definitely. I love those players, and I think it's going to be hard to rip them from their teams, but they're obviously going to be available sooner rather than later, right? Myles Garrett's definitely one of those players. I could see him just continuing his career on the Browns, kind of the same way Aaron Donald did. But again, one of the steps that I love is that Ryan Poles has never kept his 2nd round picks. He's always traded his 2nd round picks and on the trade deadline.
About that, dude. Yeah.
And we have 2 2nd round picks, right? We have one of them that's turning into a number 33 pick, which is the first pick of the 2nd round, technically a 1st round pick. So that's coming from Carolina last year. I could definitely see the Bears, if they don't have a lot of players in mind already for the draft at this point in the week, I could definitely see us using those for some defensive line help just to make us even more scarier. But Tyler, tell me about this. What position do you think is the most important for the Bears if we were to trade?
Like to acquire, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I know they've been performing well, man, but this offensive line, it's always great to get another key offensive line player.
Mhm.
I don't know the names that are out there right now, unfortunately, off the top of my head, but I do think that an offensive line player for the Bears would be awesome. Another edge rusher, too, man. I know I just kind of went on that ramble about, Myles Garrett and Max Crosby, but I do think that would be another big, key piece that the Bears can pick up. Receivers were set on, running backs were set on, defensive piece, safeties and all that were set on. It's either got to be offensive lineman or that defensive line of the ball or like an edge rusher, in my opinion. What do you think, man? What's your?
I think
it's
offensive line. I love Matt Pryor. I love the way that this team's playing. I would love a very good generational starting guard. I don't know if that's going to be talking to the Colts, talking to the Patriots for some of their older veteran linemen, but it's I definitely think offensive line is still one of those positions. Defensive line will figure it out, right? Like we have a lot of players that are still coming back from injury that are trying to make their way back. And I think offensive line is definitely the priority early in Caleb's career. Defense will kind of get acclimated to the way that the offense is playing. And Eberflus is a defensive minded coach, so it's not like he can find the right position players from a free agent list. So I do think offensive line is something that should be a priority.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, basically kind of just to wrap up the show, guys, we're just going to quickly go into the next 3 games for the Bears, what kind of looking forward to the future. And, just kind of the last thing to end off with, we just got a few fun facts for you guys, and then we'll kind of sign off for you. So the next 3 games for the Bears, which are going to be 3 very important games for the Bears. We got Bears, obviously, on Sunday, Bears Commanders in Washington. Number 1 versus number 2 pick, ? We don't know yet, but this is going to be the first afternoon game for the Bears. It did get slotted in the 3:25 slot, so we do have the CBS game, so it's going to be a big game. We'll see if it's going to be Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota, but either way, big game for the Bears. This is going to be a huge matchup. Going into the next week after that, we play the Cardinals in Arizona, so number 3 pick against number 1 pick against number 4 pick in Marvin Harrison Jr. There's going to be a play in Arizona. He's been performing pretty well for Arizona. I know he's had a few off weeks, here and there. He did get a concussion a few weeks ago. He finally just came back from that. But don't knock him out. He's a great wide receiver. And then the week after that, which I am super excited about, I'll be at Soldier Field for this game. Bears, New England at Soldier Field at noon. Number 1 pick against the number 3 pick in Drake May. This is going to be a fun game for the Bears.
Yeah, it's going to be
Expect
important
a great game for them.
Another rookie QB that is somewhat performing well. The last time the Bears had a game with New England, it was primetime in New England, and we really kicked their ass that time too. So it's really fun. It's going to be exciting to see and watch this game. And Tyler, you're going to make your way to Soldier Field, man. You'll have to take some photos and let me know how that game goes.
I am so excited, man, because I have not been to Soldier Field yet this year. I went to 2 games last year, and the two games I went to were awesome, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. This year, I currently have tickets for 1 game at Soldier Field, which is, Bears Patriots, which I'm so excited to go there. Tickets are not cheap this year, man, just because the Caleb hype is real. And then also, I told you about this, last week or earlier this week. I will be traveling week 18 to the enemy territory in Lambeau, Green Bay. Bears last game of the season, Bears Packers. We don't know the day yet. It's either going to be January 4th or January 5th. It's a flex game depending on, playoff picture and stuff like that. But I'm so excited to see the Bears take on the Packers. Never seen that before in my life. Also never been to Lambeau, so it's going to be a cool experience. I heard the tailgate experience is awesome, and I'm really excited about that. We'll talk about that weeks down. I know that's week 18. I know it's 10 weeks from now, but I just wanted to pretend, I thought it'd be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I think
it's also a once-in-a-lifetime feeling, right? You're going to be a Bears fan in Bears gear in the middle of a Packer stadium, right? We always spend our every single game that we go to growing up has always been we're not in enemy territory, so it's going to be exciting. You have to let me know how that game goes, and if any of them give you a hard time, let's just hope that Caleb shuts them up. That's kind of the goal here, right?
What we hope, man. And like I said, I told people there's the only time I'll ever go to Lambeau if it's Bears Packers. I have no interest seeing the Packers play a game, but I know Lambeau. I've heard the field's awesome. I've heard everybody there is so nice, and it's the Midwestern vibe. So I'm really excited about that. That'll be fun. But yeah, so those are the next 3 games for the Bears.
Washington on Sunday. We got Cardinals the next week after, which is another big game, and then the Patriots the week after that on November 10th. So
yeah, and
big
wouldn't be
3 games for the Bears.
surprised to see the Bears at 7-2. These are
Yeah.
3 very beatable teams. These are teams that are winning games off of field goal drives. I'm thinking we can, especially if Jane Daniels is out, then I think we can definitely finish this 3-game trip with 7-2 record, which is
It would be
insane to think
awesome
about.
to see every team in the NFC North make the playoffs, man. It's
Yeah,
never
that'd be
happened
historic.
before, every team in the division to make the playoffs, but it would be absolutely awesome to see that. And it would be really, really cool because, Lions fans have suffered for a while. They finally have a great team. In my opinion, I think they're the best team in football right now, the Lions.
Yeah, yeah. I think so.
Vikings started off crazy. They were 6-0 to start the season, and then they did lose last week. They have a big game tonight. It's going to be Vikings Rams. I think Cooper Kupp's back for the Rams, but also, and then the Packers. They've been performing pretty well as well. As well with Jordan Love and even
100%.
Malik Willis when he came in the game. So
Yeah.
great year for NFC North. Finally we're not the bottom division. We're the best division in the league, which is crazy.
Exactly.
So
it's good. I like it that way, but hopefully sooner or later we become the best team in the best division, right? Here are some Bears fun facts, just to finish off the show, because I've been reading a lot of things on Twitter, and I'm telling you, a lot of these things I'm reading are very interesting facts here for this Bears team that's playing better than usual. So the Bears currently are on a 7-game home winning streak, including that game in London, technically a home game. That's very, very important going on from last season. Bears have 10 straight games allowing 21 points or less. Again, heading on from last season.
Strong, man. It is strong.
21 points. And as long as you see the Bears score more than 21 points, that can give you some satisfaction in knowing that we're probably going to end up winning that game. So that's very important. That's 2 out of 3 facts I have here. The last one here, though, is probably the craziest. The last time the Bears scored a touchdown on 4 consecutive drives, which is what happened last time Caleb played in London 2 weeks ago. The last time that happened was week 14 in 2006 versus the Rams. Was the last time that happened to the Bears. And if you know a little bit about that year, they would go on to make the Super Bowl that year. Is kind of the way it went down. Now that defense was historic. Hall of Famers on that team. Offense still was a pretty good priority. Coaching staff was doing well. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to make the Super Bowl, but again, just one of those stats that shows you just how incredible some of these Bears teams have been in the past and how it's right on our noses. Like, we don't know if the Bears are going to be exactly this good. So it's awesome living in this period of just waiting and see and watching Caleb's growth.
Great fun facts, man. The Bears home winning streak is awesome. They've been performing really well on their home turf at Soldier Field and also in London as well. Super happy for the Bears. And then, this defense has been really strong, 21 points or less in the last 10 games, which is awesome. And, I know you sent that to me yesterday, that stat about the 4 consecutive drives with the touchdown.
Yeah.
Let's make history again, man. Let's keep it going. So
let's do it again.
Yeah. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up the show today. And for this week and last week, Bears were on a bye last week, but like we said, we appreciate you guys all tuning in. We love the comments. We love, reacting to you guys' comments. That was fun, talking about what everyone had for lunch today and stuff like that.
Yeah,
earlier.
right.
But we love, all the different comments and everything you guys do. You can always text us or let us know, or even in the comments, if you guys have any, opinions or questions, shoot us a text or shoot us a comment. We love, talking about the Bears with you guys. The Bulls just started, so once they get a few more games under their belt, we'll start talking about Bulls action with you guys if you guys are interested in that. But the Bears, had the bye week last week. That's why we didn't meet up with you guys. But Bears Washington on Sunday. It's a big game. We'll see if Jaden Daniels does take the field for Washington. But in other words, it is a big game for the Bears. Number 1, number 2 pick. We'll see what happens with that. But like we said, we appreciate you guys tuning in, watching. We appreciate the watchers and listeners. Dan, you want to say anything before we go?
Not much, but no, reach out if you guys ever have any questions, and we will see you again next week. We'll keep up, all the famous Chicago stats and stories. Thank you guys for joining in, though. We really appreciate your help. We wouldn't do this without you guys.
And Doug says, good show, guys. I'll be back. We appreciate it, Doug.
Please be back. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to sign off. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your weekend. Remember, 3:25 Bears game on CBS. Make sure you guys tune in. And as always, bear down.
Bear down. See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.